Good evening and welcome to tonight's regional news. We start with a story from Trinidad and Tobago. Almost 20 hours after Trinidad and Tobago was placed under a state of emergency (SOE), as of midnight on May 15, the authorities spent considerable time drafting the new regulations, which now includes a ban on the consumption of alcohol in public places, immediate cessation of all outdoor activities, and sports. The extensive list banned the sale of food or drink by street vendors and visits to all mud volcanoes or mud pools for recreational purposes. The regulations specify there will be no team sports, contact sports, outdoor sports, or exercising in public. It also puts an end to running, hiking, cycling, golf, and even hockey, to name a few. The regulations also effectively reinforce the closure of preschools, daycares, water parks, amusement centers, bars, restaurants, casinos, clubs, party boats, spas, barbers, hairdressers, and the closure of all sporting clubs, which encourages both individual and team participation. The Prime Minister said the measures includes a 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. curfew, which was meant to keep people indoors and limit people from congregating. Rowley did not give a date as to when the SOE would be lifted. In Dominica celebrated its World Health Organization certification for elimination of mother-to-child transmission of HIV and syphilis, according to a release from the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO. Dominica Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit said, I quote, "What we are celebrating here is truly a remarkable achievement. Eliminating mother-to-child transmission of HIV and syphilis as a public health concern requires the strengthening of primary prevention and treatment services for HIV and syphilis for pregnant women within an established and successful maternal, prenatal, and child health services." End of quote. While Dominica received a certification for elimination recently, the country was recommended by WHO for certification since last September. New HIV infections among children in the Caribbean declined by nearly 40% between 2019 and 2010. Chile's center-right ruling coalition suffered a shock loss on Sunday night after failing to secure a critical one-third of seats in the body that will draft the country's new constitution. With 90% of the votes counted, candidates backed by President Sebastian Piñera's Chile Vamos coalition had won only a fifth, while independents had picked up the most. New proposals will require two-thirds approval, and without a third of the delegates, the government will struggle to block radical changes to the constitution unless it can forge new alliances. The vote to pick 155 citizens to rewrite the constitution was born by fierce protests that erupted over inequality and elitism in October 2019. The current constitution, drafted during the 1973 to 1990 dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet, is widely perceived to favor big business over the rights of ordinary citizens and does not even mention indigenous people. And internationally, India reported a further decline in new coronavirus cases on Monday, but daily deaths remained above 4,000, and experts said the data was unreliable due to a lack of testing in rural areas where the virus is spreading fast. For months now, nowhere in the world has been harder hit than India by the pandemic, as a new strain of the virus fueled a surge in infections that has risen to more than 400,000 daily. New infections over the past 24 hours were put at 281,386 by the Health Ministry on Monday, dropping below 300,000 for the first time since April 21. The daily death toll stood at 4,106. And finally, rights groups urged the International Criminal Court to determine whether Israeli airstrikes that destroyed a Gaza building housing media outlets constituted a war crime. Israeli missiles flattened the 13-story Al Jala Tower in Gaza City, which housed Qatar-based Al Jazeera Media Network and American news agency. Israel claimed the building housed not only news bureaus but an office of Hamas, which controls the Gaza Strip. The Israeli military gave the building's owner an hour to evacuate before attacking and bringing it down on live television. I quote, "Deliberately targeting media outlets constitutes a war crime," end of quote, Secretary General Christophe Delory said in a statement. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said on Monday he has not yet seen any evidence supporting Israel's claim that Hamas operated in the building. Blinken said he pressed Israel for justification for the brazen attack. That was all for tonight's regional news. Thank you for joining.